Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me at the back? Yay! My little bio there gives you a little clue about some of my background. I've been totally privileged to be able to bring my two passions in life together through my paid work. I get paid to bring creativity, expression, engagement together with the children's rights agenda. And I've been invited here today basically to tell you that, and to talk to you about and with that children's rights are actually good for them. Now, I know that's maybe a bit, out of the blue, but I just want to talk to you a bit about the work of our office and why the children's rights agenda is obviously an agenda that I know you will share my passion about and is incredibly important to everything that you've been discussing, looking at, sharing, exploring over the past 2 days. Before I start, though, I do just want to, I promised Martin I'd warm you all up, so I just want to kind of get us all, just had lunch, it's been, nice, lots of coffee, everyone's maybe a bit sleepy. Could I just ask everybody here, I understand that we've got some wonderful guests from Holland here with us today, is that right? Yeah. Okay, so can I ask everyone from Holland just to shout, yay! 1, 2, 3. Right, can I ask everyone from Scotland to shout, yay! Yay! Well, that's really, really good. Okay, can I ask everybody just to put their hands together and to clap really loudly for about 3 seconds? Ready? 1, 2, 3, go! All right, that's what I want you to do after I finish, okay? All right. Okay, so I'll just go back on that very quickly. That's my cartoon. We use cartoons to help communicate with children and young people because obviously they find them friendly. Obviously mine, I've sent it back. I was just telling Maggie about 10 times before he got it right, So children are often quite disappointed when they meet me in real life, obviously. So this is the commissioner's role. I'm not going to read them all out. I'm going to let you read them yourself. But that's essentially what my boss, Scotland's Commissioner for Children and Young People, whose name is Tam Bailey, does. Commissioners are like Time Lords if you're a Doctor Who fan. So every number of years they kind of disappear behind a desk and pop back up as somebody else. Tam has brought, he's the second commissioner in Scotland, he's brought his own passions into the job. His background is in street work with incredibly vulnerable children and young people. Eventually became head of policy at Bernardo's, but Tam brings a real passion about participation as a critical right, as all rights are critical, obviously, but participation is something that he has a massive passion about and wants to see us here in Scotland promoting more and more. And I'm really pleased to see that, I'm really pleased to be able to tell you, actually, that we had a wonderful distinguished visitor the other week, actually from the UN committee, who was talking to children and young people, and she was incredibly impressed about the way that children talked about rights to her and the knowledge and understanding that some of those children were able to show. And she said before she left the country that she was incredibly impressed at what Scotland was doing around the participation agenda. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart because you are all massively part of that journey that we're taking. Anyway, to have somebody like Tam in place is part of the kind of specific commitment that the UK government devolved to the Scottish government has to put in place to kind of keep an eye on what's going on in relation to making children's rights real in the lives of our children on a day-to-day basis. So it's part of the agreement. Once the UNCRC was ratified by the UK, all of the 4 different regions have their own UK commissioners. So what are we talking about in terms of children's rights? Well, children's rights obviously are in addition to all our human rights. Children have human rights just exactly the same as you and I. Children have an additional protection in relation to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. It's the most critical children's human rights instrument, obviously, that exists. 192 countries have signed up to it and have made a commitment to work towards realising the rights of children as enshrined within the Convention. It applies to all children under the age of 18 or 21 if they have been looked after. It's 25 years old now, so that's actually, you know, that's a childhood and an adolescenthood into adulthood. It came into force here on the 15th of January 1992. So we are all part of the state's obligation under the UN Convention to respect, promote, and fulfil the rights as outlined. And I just want to show you how a rights-based commissioner's work. So essentially, the commissioner decided that he was going to focus on his work in his time in Scotland by listening to the voices of over 74,000 children and young people. And some of you may remember a right blether a number of years ago now, but it was undertaken with school-aged children across all sorts of different environments, but mostly schools. So again, I want to thank you, because it was the professionals within schools who supported and facilitated children and young people being able to discuss, talk about and share their opinions about what was the most important issues that Tam should be working on while he was their commissioner. And this is what came out of that discussion. Now, I know he's super proud of what was achieved, and he's really, really proud of some of the pieces of work that have flown from those particular focuses, which I don't have time to tell you about. What I do have time to tell you about is his ongoing commitment to the voice of the child being absolutely critical to the heart of his work and his influencing of the work of others. I know you will know this already, but I'm just kind of putting that slide up just to remind us about how sometimes we can cut how we can sort out, how we can cut the UN Convention. There are, of course, no rights. There's no hierarchy of rights, and all rights are equal, are indivisible. We have to understand them all together. Participation as a kind of critical principle is something that I know that the Scottish Government is highly, highly supportive of, and within the context of our new legislation, the Children and Young People's Act, is something that all public bodies are going to have to report back on alongside their other implementation of the other articles in the UNCRC. But they're certainly going to have to be able to articulate what they're doing to promote the participation of children and young people in Scotland as part of their duties and obligations. However, I don't really want to talk about duties and obligations. I want to talk about privilege. I want to talk about what a privilege it is to be living and working in a country that has a clear aim that this should be the best country in the whole world where children can grow up in, has a clear commitment to their duties, but they're excited about that under the obligations in relation to children's rights. And I want to talk about you as massive actors in that journey. And I hope we can all share that excitement about actually standing up in a world that at the moment is quite chaotic. And I know that some of you, like me, will be very upset, very challenged and taxed about the images, the stories, the things that are going on in the world at the moment. And the things we are seeing, the experiences we are seeing so many children living through. And I hope that in this room, I know that in this room today, we together will want to work very hard to ensure that a children's rights framework is absolutely in place to ensure the well-being of children and young people in our society in a way that other societies are not being able to deliver at the moment. So, this is Article 12. Again, I'm not going to go through it. You will all know it. If you don't know it inside out, you can read all about it very easily. This is Article 23. This is another article. I'm just picking them out, the ones I think that you'd be particularly interested in. Article 12 and Article 23 obviously need to be looked at together, because children and young people who also have a disability are some of our most silenced children and young people. And we need to know that with our aspiration for Scotland to be the best place in the world for any child to grow up in, that we need to work extremely hard to ensure that children and young people with communication difficulties, with other disabilities, are supported fiercely and proudly to have their voices heard and to have their opinions considered, taken seriously, and integrated into decisions that are made about them. Here we have Article 28, which you'll all know, the right to education. And I get really, really excited about Article 29, because with the agenda that we're talking about here, about health and well-being, about children being taken care of, being the most they possibly can be, I think Article 29 gives us a marvellous direction and helpful road of passage to understand why all children's rights are absolutely profoundly central to a good education. A children's rights-based education is a good education. So I just want to take you to a place a little bit forward. I want you to kind of half shut your eyes, if you would, and I want you to imagine that in front of you is a young person who's maybe just over the age of 21 now, a young person who's thriving, a young person who's been nurtured, and this young person is going to talk to you as somebody who has ensured that children's rights have lived and breathed at the heart of their educational experience right from their very first time within the context of their learning journeys. And this is what that person would say. That person would say that the education, the learning that you delivered, designed itself around my vulnerability and status as a child with less power than adults. But you used your power wisely and fairly, and always in my best interest. You protected me from any harm. You helped me grow healthily and safely. You allowed me to develop with dignity. You supported me in my learning journey as a whole child, not just a pupil, between the hours I came to school and left again. You never demanded anything from me in return for being treated with respect and delivering my rights. You nurtured me. You gently grew my own understanding of my and others' rights, of respect, of diversity, of culture. I learned as much through my daily experience in my interactions with you as I did through the content of my lessons. You taught me to live peacefully and how to do that. You developed in me a love of and respect for my environment. You treated me fairly and equally, and you gave me the support that was right for me, if I needed it. You respected and supported the values and culture of my parents, carers, and recognized their special place in knowing and nurturing me. You helped me learn how to express myself about things that matter to children. You listened to me, and you took what I said seriously. What I said made a difference, or if it didn't, I knew why. You recognized my value when I was a child and when I became an adolescent, and you understood how and when to support me and when to let me try to fly myself. You helped me fulfill my potential and grow well into my adulthood, so I can now hold children in these ways too. That's what you've done to me. That's what you've done for me in my rights-based educational journey. And you are the experts. And if you're not absolutely impassioned the way that I get when I'm talking about these things, what I do want to draw your attention to is that the Office of Scotland's Commissioner for Children and Young People also last year published How Young People's Participation in School Supports Achievement and Attainment. We also have developed the 7 Golden Rules for Participation, which is a reflective tool which should enable you to consider all the guidance that's tied up in the additional comment in Article 12's additional comment, and just through 7 clear steps allow you to reflect on your own practice in relation to broadening, deepening the participative experience of children within your educational establishments. Now, I just want to finish really, really quickly, just by, these are all free, by the way. I'm just going to leave that there for you, because if you want to get hold of these resources, then please just contact me, and we'd be delighted to send you out golden rules. We also have developed them in symbols form now, so that children and young people with additional barriers to communication can also better understand their rights within the context of participation. But I'm just going to finish by reading this out, and I thank you all so very much for your patience with me this afternoon. So even if you don't believe all my rhetoric, and you should, because it's true, Even if you don't, this is what our research told us. So taken together, the evidence suggested that the participation agenda in the schools that we looked at was a sufficiently important focus to support achievement and attainment. Taking a rights-based approach was at least tactically, if not consciously on the part of all, part and parcel of a wider agenda of support for young people's upbringing. In these schools, pupils certainly understood the need for qualifications, the need to learn useful things, and they were aware of the political nature of their role and the need to have a say in how the school was run, and, to a lesser extent, have their say in community and global issues. For the pupils, all forms of participation were connected to becoming someone and being a committed citizen now of the school and, at times, their wider communities. As these young people explained it, participation was not an outcome of achievement and attainment, or vice versa. Rather, a respectful culture of participation, supported by positive pupil-teacher relationships, was the valued vehicle for making achievement and attainable possible within a good education. A rights-based education is a good education. Thank you so very much for listening to me. Please keep in touch if you want any more information about the work of our office or the resources therein. Just feel free to get in touch with me. I'd be delighted to hear from any of you, and have a wonderful rest of the afternoon. Thank you.